Okay, look, it's not what you think. I know what it seems, but it isn't Pokemon you aren't able to catch in Swoosh. It's just a completely different video. In the entire known Pokemon universe, there are some variants of Pokemon you just can't capture in the main games. Some are hidden inside games, the anime, Game Freak's notebooks that they left on the table and I looked at, but come off as seemingly rare renditions of Pokemon that would still be great additions to have and be used in the main games, where they can even have their own special plots or quests to be captured. And just so we don't have to talk about including Pokemon like Diluted Blue Pinsir from Pokemon Stadium that you can't catch, or Headbanded Jigglypuff with Offensive Rest, or Bryceman, we're here looking at which would be the rarest Pokemon that exists in the Pokemon universe, but can't be caught in the main games. Number 10. Purple Kecleon. If you ever played the first Mystery Dungeon game, then you'll know about that one Uncatchable Kecleon that just doesn't appear in any of the Generation 3 games. There's this little purple guy working in retail with this regular green Kecleon who are known as the Kecleon Brothers, and is only available to be seen in this game, an episode of the anime, and the spin-off animated episode of the second Mystery Dungeon games. With how special Kecleon was presented in the third generation's debut, having to get an item just to see them as they were invisible and blocked your path, as well as having a type-changing ability to give it some personality and make it more unique to siphon some popularity from this gen, the Purple Kecleon definitely seemed like a Pokemon who could have been integrated into the games as a special form in its own rare encounter, different from getting a shiny and just an overhauled rare form. It's also such a potent Pokemon look that's so fitting to the design of Kecleon as a changing Pokemon that even I thought I once saw it in the original Generation 3 main games, but turns out when I looked it up, I was just wrong because that's impossible, and not even my memories about Pokemon can be trusted. Who could have seen that happening? The tag team of Kecleon seem like they make a really nice appearance to be caught in any Generation 3 games, and I was actually hoping ORAS might have given them their own brotherly event. Unfortunately, however, that didn't happen, so Purple Kecleon will live on keeping its form in the side games, and my falsified memories. Number 9. Venutoise. I mean, who even got to choose who comes first in the name? Turtle with Hydro Cannon on its back or Potassium Plant? Well, Potassium Plant because it's the first in the Pokedex. Venutoise appears in the anime as a fusion of Blastoise and Venusaur, created and combined by a talking Ghastly to scare Ash's Squirtle and Bulbasaur. Nothing like having two old people combine their bodies to scare kids. Fusions in general are not seen very often in the main games, but are pretty popular even as fan creations. And maybe that's what Blastoise and Venusaur need, to combine together in the main games just to take on the Red Lizard. I mean, you get Ghastly with his Yu-Gi-Oh! Voice and monologue creating the new specimen of Pokemon power.
I'll combine them into one super Pokemon to make Venustoise.
And you can't get in the games? Charizard's been ruling over the Gen 1 starter squad since the beginning of time. These two need to fusion dance into one special monstrosity in the games just to bring back some more popularity. This is also one of the more memorable moments of the first season of the anime, leading a lot of people to wonder if they would ever be able to catch a Venustoise. And at the very least, when it did appear, it probably did spark up a lot of love for making new Pokemon fusions. At least those two did manage to get some forms in the new games. Number 8. Rotom Dex. It's pretty rare to see Game Freak include a Pokemon in the main games themselves that are also unable to be caught, or even in the Pokedex. I mean, Rotom is the Pokedex, and is technically inside a Pokedex, it just doesn't have its own slot. It's also in a phone, with apps, to open up your bag in the options. They do show it in the anime with Ash as a regular Rotom who can get out of the Pokedex and end up as another usable form such as Rotom Wash. But it is sort of cool how you can own this Pokemon, but it's not really a Pokemon, but it technically is. You just can't battle with it, or remove it from the Dex in the games. You just have to catch another one, which you can actually find in the Rotom Dex, so technically it's portraying its own kind and shows you the location of where you can find other Rotoms to battle with. Kinda weird to just sell your own kind, but okay. It doesn't even have its own type as a Pokedex or a phone, which I think should have been Psychic Electric or Steel Electric if they did give it a type. Or Plastic Electric. But it is interesting to see a Pokemon that's in the game with its own special existence that isn't able to be used. This is kind of like a Turnamax Eternatus, which honorable mention because it might be asked about, but really this section could have been split for the two in similarity, as these forms are both in the games, but not really able to be caught. I guess the difference is that Eternatus has stats for its form, and Rotom Dex has, well, other Pokemon stats in its log. But technically you're only catching regular Eternatus, and don't even get to have Eternamax Eternatus, aside from the 2 seconds when Regular Boy uses Eternabeam. Which, like, okay, I guess I captured the regular form, even though I'm in a raid against its max form, but technically, you do catch it, because you throw a ball at it, it goes in the ball drops, and then it clicks. So technically you are catching it, you just can't actually use it itself. And that's why they like to call me Seaman. Because of all these semantics. Number 7, Raichu with a hat on. It might not look like the most noteworthy unavailable form in Pokemon, but when does Raichu ever get anything? Okay, it did get an Alola form, which is pretty cool, even though it took a long time and sort of overhauled Raichu. But after that, it'd at least be nice to let Raichu have some glamour and fashion. Pichu's Gen 2 and even it got a rare spiky-eared version and event. Pikachu got in the partnership program and a bunch of hats and a bow tie, but what does Raichu get? You know what Raichu gets? Shafted. It does get some nice little fun clothing changes in Pokemon Go, like some snug hats and glasses that you can't obtain in the main games, and while it's not just exclusive to Raichu having Pokemon Go outfits being unattainable, as both Pikachu and Pichu get these and can't be used in any generations, besides Ash had Pikachu in Sun and Moon, but regular Raichu deserves the spot the most, and needs to start making some moves. If Pikachu Libre exists, where's Sumo Raichu? What about possible war-torn Raichu? I'm sure Lieutenant Surge's Raichu could use some rescuing. Surge was pretty abusive in the manga, dropped a kid off a boat. Made him sink in the water. Maybe go back to Vermilion and you can get a Raichu with a little camo jacket and some glasses. Anything for our overshadowed Gen 1 hero. Number 6, Mecha Mewtwo. You know what, I'm just gonna say it. First off, the next 5 Pokemon, much better picks. However, it's Mecha Mewtwo. You know this is in some Pokemon live show, right? It even has its own promo card, but never to be seen again or gone anywhere near the games. You would think this one would at least make an appearance in Pokestar Studio with all the mechanical Tyrannitars and Bryceman again, as a jet. But nope, this metal Mechazord is only able to be seen in a musical 20 years ago, with never even a slight mention of it in the games or anime. It was even built by Giovanni and considered to be the most powerful Pokemon in existence. Don't know how canon any of this is to all the stories in Pokemon, but it's there, it exists. Maybe we aren't ever going to be able to encounter it in the games, like almost guaranteed, but it is a lost Pokemon, and at the end of Pokemon Live, Mecha Mewtwo gets hit with a blast full of love, care, friendship by Mewtwo. And after experiencing these feelings, Mecha Mewtwo decides it just can't go any further with Giovanni's evil plan, and just grabs him by the throat and blows up, destroying the gym in itself. So while we can't capture it, it can capture our hearts, and us, by the throat and explode. Number 5, Crystal Onix. Oh hey, a palate cleanser. Crystal Onix has been one of the never-used forms of a Pokemon that debuted in the anime and still holds up today as something to one day keep in your PC. It always looked like a cool addition that should definitely be used, and even has some showings in in-game mods. But there is just something about Crystal Onix that always made it seem like the stable event Pokemon you might one day be able to get. Onix on its own always had a nice place in Generation 1. It was big, bulky, and a fun to look at rock Pokemon that was always known as Brock's signature pet. Those little nods they gave to Onix to make it stand out made Crystal Onix feel like a possibility. Even Memorial Pillar where one dies. Might have thought there'd been a little bit more to that story as a kid, but that didn't happen. Would have been cool to have more of these forms that could be rare encounters to unlock after a little quest, and maybe if they gave us Crystal Onix, we could have evolved it into Silver Steelix. Number 4, Primal Dialga. Really just ahead of its time, Dialga in the Mystery Dungeon games coming out with its primal form, which, okay, maybe it's Dialga getting corrupted, but it definitely unlocks a lot of cool ideas if they do happen to remake Diamond and Pearl and just bring in more primal forms like they did with Groudon and Kyogre. Maybe this will finally give us a deserving Arceus event. Or the Flute. Just putting that out there. Unlike them. Palkia as of now doesn't have any additional forms in any side games, so the only uncatchable form is exclusive to Dialga with its primal form. It could definitely be as jaw-dropping to see some bending of time and traversing into past and future worlds, similar to the feeling when you first got Platinum and ended up in the Distortion world. And if they're doing it for one, I'm sure Palkia would get its own primal form too and just blow us away with another trip to space. Just like Noras, except now there's a well-rounded gym on every planet. You know, maybe that was the hint. Primal forms appear in Gen 3 remakes, you go into space, Gen 4 remakes with Primal Dialga and Primal Palkia. We've solved the code. Everyone is going to see the soon-to-be-released Gen 4 remakes of Spurl and Tymond. Number 3, Shadow Mewtwo. Pokken is not a game I talk a lot about, but Shadow Mewtwo pops up as its own cool creation from the game, and what a way to bring Pokken to the channel. I mean, most of the fighting games all have versions of Pokemon you don't actually get to see in the main games, but Shadow Mewtwo felt like a more fleshed out and complete character. That's a shame it's not in the main games, compared to Smash's color swaps, which are still cool renditions and might make for fun alternative shiny versions. Ultimate even has its own kind of Shadow Mewtwo. Pokken improved Shadow Mewtwo, however, makes for a very menacing Pokemon to not be able to catch. Imagining Mewtwo turning into an even more evil form compared to early on in the movies, and then getting so angry that it becomes a new dark form, really makes you think of all the storylines that could arise from someone like Mewtwo. I mean, Mecha Mewtwo had some problems. Imagine what Shadow Mewtwo is going through being forced to fight in a ring controlled by a random player. Well, actually, that's all a Pokemon. It's a neat look for Mewtwo with even more tales that could unfold, and even if we aren't able to catch the Dark Mewtwo with a slab of caramel coming out of its shoulder, it's one to consider for how it would be integrated into the games if they want to make an all-out war between regular Mewtwo and Shadow Mewtwo, or if it's regular Mewtwo transforming again into a hopeful Dark Psychic. Number 2. Shadow Lugia. Had to keep the Shadow streak going with Shadow Lugia coming in at number 2. Of all the Shadow Pokemon in the GameCube games, Shadow Lugia triumphs in its own well-designed variation compared to the simply possessed Pokemon you steal. Sorry, help from other trainers. Really would love to see the return of Shadow Lugia in any of the main games, as its iconic dark purple design is a notable one on the already well-loved arrow-blasting legendary bird. Not only was it a sick box cover Pokemon, it also made a nice decal on the special edition Gale of Darkness GameCube that I still have. Just putting it out there. If any offers are on the table, you can write them to me. If not, well, you can just take it, I guess, because that's what we do at Shadow Pokemon. It's one of the closest Pokemon to being able to be captured in the main games, as you can transfer Pokemon from these side games over to them. However, you can't do that with Shadow Pokemon. I need to throw Shadow Lugia into the Purification Chamber with all 9 sets at maximum tempo, turning it into its regular form, and then it's able to be transferred over. That is pretty close, though. You still get to own a Lugia who at the very least has memories of being a Shadow Pokemon. And while there are no ways of getting it back to its Shadow form, or any signs of that being more than just a side game quest, Lugia is, on its own, one of the best designed legendary Pokemon that can swap between an awesome dark and purple side game design and its on par original white and blue without losing any charm in either. Number 1. Armored Mewtwo. The Pokemon Go Armored Mewtwo is the sickest Pokemon you can't actually get in any of the main story games, or even in Pokemon Go anymore as you needed the event. I mean, look at this thing. If you just change all the blades with needles, it can even be Acupuncture Mewtwo too. I was just thinking of Armored Robotic Mewtwo from the movie, which is a shame that wasn't used on its own. But it then being revamped and overhauled to make it look like the Mewtwo from the movies went off on its own and upgraded the equipment is just one of the things I hope can happen in the games. With a Pokemon movie remake coming out on Netflix, maybe we drop a little mystery gift key to promote the movie and equip Mewtwo with some more battle equipment. The real question then becomes, which do you guys like better? The slimmer, sleeker movie Mewtwo, or the more bulked up wing-bladed armor Mewtwo? Personally, I like the sleeker version for the movies, probably just the nostalgia, but even the new armor Mewtwo just brings chills down my spine, so it's incredibly close, and would be cool to see Game Freak add in a new upgrading level form and have a level 1, level 2, and final level 3 Mewtwo form. Okay, maybe just not Mecha Mewtwo as the final form though, but anything else. Which brings us to number 0, Shadow Armored Mewtwo. Not only is it uncatchable, but it's also not real. Cool card though.